Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Crafty Author. My name is Anissa, and today we are going to work on our easy baby quilt. So we've got the quilt top all pieced and ready to go, and now we're ready to start adding the backing. However, when we were cutting this quilt, we had some leftover scraps, and so what I want to do is show you how we can incorporate those scraps into the backing of our quilt. So what we're going to be doing today is just piecing the back side of the quilt. Now, I will be honest, I have never done this before. This will be my first time as well. So I'm going to keep it very, very simple, just because it is my first time and I'm excited to share this with you. So we're going to learn together. And what I've already gone and done is I've pressed out the strips that I had that were left over from the cutting of our squares for our quilt, and I went ahead and cut these strips that were long enough into 3-inch strips. You can cut them whatever size you would like, but I did 3-inch, and you can see I have a nice little stack here going of different colors. And so this will just be very random because, you know, some strips we had more of, some we didn't, yada yada yada. I have squares that are here. We're going to cut these. And then I had some other little strips that were too thin to do 3 inches with, so I cut them at 1.5. And we're going to incorporate those as well. Like I said, we're going to keep it real simple. All right, so I have these squares from when we were cutting our fabric out. These are the leftovers. I have 3 of the yellow and I have 3 of the red, so that is perfect. So all I'm going to do is stack them on top of each other, like so. And I'm just going to give it a good trim because I want these to be nice and even when I go to cut. So I'm just going to cut off the raw edges, make sure that I'm going to have a straight edge to work with. So I'll cut that off. I'm going to spin this and hold it down very well so I don't move the layers of fabric. If you have a rotating mat, this would be a good time to use it. I do have one, but I want to show you how to do this without it. Okay, so now I'm just going to spin it again. But you want to make sure that you hold that real steady, otherwise it will move on you. So we're just cleaning up these edges. Okay, so now I'm going to take my 3-inch ruler. Now that I know that my sides and my bottoms are even, now I'm just going to take my ruler, which is 3 inches. Now you can use a ruler that's the same size, or you can just cut it on the mat, or use your mat as a guide. So for this one, I'm going to show you how to cut it with the ruler. So I'm just lining the ruler up with the edge, and it is lined up on the line, and I'm just going to cut it. So there's one stack of 3. And then this one, we'll just line up and we'll count it. 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to slice right here at the 3 mark. Easy peasy. All right, so now we have our 2 stacks of 3. I want to make sure that these lengthwise are also 3, but they're not. We'll make them 5, so they should be 3 by 5. Perfect. 3 by 5. So let's do that to this one as well. And you can, like I said, you can do this whatever size you want to do it. If you want to cut these into squares, you can do that. It's completely up to you. So there's that one. Okay, so 2 different methods on how to cut those. We're gonna sew 4 of them in one row. Let's see. I didn't count this out right. I apologize. But hey, this happens in sewing, right? All right, good. So we're going to have enough for 3 rows. Some of it's going to get cut off. I can tell you that. So we're going to start with the yellow piece first, and we're just going to sew the yellow piece to the red piece. Nice sides together. And we're going to start sewing. And I think I'm going to backstitch just a little because I didn't catch it on that edge. There we go. Gonna make sure that these are lined up. And they are. And then we'll sew these pieces together. Now I'm doing it yellow, red. So I'm trying to pay attention to that. And I'm just going to chain piece these 2 together. Now I'm going to cut my threads, including the center one at this point because we're not butting them up together that direction. So I'm going to go ahead and press to the dark. Just going to finger press that. I'm also going to do the same thing here. And I know this isn't in the right direction, and honestly, I'm not worried about it. So if you want to make sure that it's all directional, I mean, if this was really, really a truly directional print, I might pay a little more attention to that, but it's not, and so I'm not going to. And then I'm just going to go ahead and press the center part in the same manner. Oh, I didn't do it right. I'm going to press it to the yellow side. And then you should have something that looks like this. Okay? All right, so I finished sewing these strips together, and now what I'm going to do is take one of our 1.5 inch strips, and I'm going to put it on this top one here at the edge, and I am just going to sew this on right here. Just going to go ahead and stitch it on. I want to make sure that I'm keeping it nice and even, not stretching this little strip. And I am aware that it isn't long enough, but I'm okay with that. We're going to end up trimming this up anyway, so I'm not too worried about it. All right. So then you should have, I'm going to press this to the dark side. Then you should have something that looks like this. Okay. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to alternate the color. I'm going to take another strip of the rectangles that we just sewed together, and I'm going to put it down here. So I'm just going to line this one up on top of the strip that we just sewed, and I'm going to sew 1/4 inch all the way down, And then I'm going to repeat. I'm going to take another piece of my 1.5 inch strips. I'm going to put it to the bottom of this one and repeat. So I will show you. All right, so I have all of these sewn together, and that's what it looks like. I went ahead and used up all those 1.5 inch strips on here. I have not pressed this out yet. I've only finger pressed, but now I want to move on to our larger strips. And all that I'm going to do for these right now is I'm just going to sew these strips together. Now I will take my next little strip and sew it on. All right, so I have our 2 pieces sewn. So all I'm going to do now is just square up the side here on this quilt, or on this piece. So we want this to be pretty flat, and as you can see, when I sewed this, it moved a little bit. It's okay. I'm not striving for perfection on this. It's going on the back of the quilt. But I do want to make sure that it is, you know, things are even. So I have gone ahead and squared this up just a tad, just on the edges. I just want these edges to be clean. These look pretty good to me. If I wanted to, I could make them straight. And I would cut off. I mean, I guess I could go ahead and do that. And then just make this like a 1 inch. So I would just measure it along the seam here at 1 inch. So I'm going to go ahead and do that to this one too, since we're lining up. And like I said, if you're off, don't worry about it. It's not the end of the world. This is going to get sewn into another piece anyway. So I'm just showing you how to do it, just for in case you want to, okay? I would have left it, but that's me. So now I have, these are 1 inch, and we've got all of this done, so this is good. It is wonky looking. I don't care. I love it. I think it looks great. Okay, so if you do something like that, don't get hung up on it, all right? Now here's our strip set that we sewed together. I had 5 of them, so I went ahead and did 5. I will clean up the edges just because I'm a freak about cleaning up the edges. It's a true story. Cannot stand to have edges that are just not clean. So I get hung up on that, and I probably really should not, but I do a lot. So I'm just lining up on my 1/4 inch mark here in case you're wondering. And then I'm gonna cut. So now what we can do is we can leave this alone, or we can cut it and then sew it into something different. And I'm not sure what I want to do because I kind of like it like this. And I said I wanted to keep this simple. But I think what I might do is make this 16 inches. And then we're going to cut it on the 8. So that's 22. So that we'll have 2 8-inch pieces after I cut this. And what I'm going to do is just real easy. It's just going to be something a little bit different. And I'm just going to flip it. I'm just going to flip it. Like that. Just to give it a little bit of dimension. Now you could keep cutting if you wanted to, like we could split this one into 4s and flip it. I'm going to go sew these 2 pieces together now. All right, that's the end of part 1, and part 2 will be actually putting the pieces together for the backing. So if you would like to follow me on social media, the links are down below in the description box. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and keep on crafting. I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.